we are the company who enables and protects the dreams of responsible Northwest residents. We've got to, before we rush to the tools, we have to understand what we're going to do to engage.
Hi, I'm Bruno Aziza, and today I'm talking to Rod Brooks. Thank you very much for your time, Rod.
Thanks for having me.
You are Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer at PEMCO.
Yes.
So PEMCO is an insurance company based in the Northwest. You're very active in the community. You are on the board of the Word of Mouth marketing organization. You also do lectures at colleges, and you're very well recognized in the social media sphere. So what we're here to talk about today is how you can scale relationship marketing. We're going to talk a little bit about the rhythm of marketing and how social media changes this a little bit.
Okay.
And we're going to talk a little bit about how a different business, or maybe a complicated business like PEMCO, uses marketing and social media in general. So first of all, can you tell us what PEMCO does and what your mission is at the company?
Sure. It's a great way that we put our mission in the voice of the customer. Just recently, we've restated it to say that we are the company who enables and protects the dreams of responsible Northwest residents. And so insurance is like that, and that's what it's all about. And we sell personal lines insurance. We've been serving just the state of Washington for over 60 years. This summer we'll be opening our first time in Oregon in the Portland market. We sell auto and home insurance and the basic needs of the common insurance protection products of the Northwest residents.
And so you have been at the company for 11 plus years now.
Almost 12 years this August, yeah.
And so it's a challenging business because when you think about the process of buying insurance, it's a fairly complicated product. So tell us how you use social media to help with that relationship marketing.
Well, you're right. Let's step back just for a minute and just think about insurance. You know, it's a product that most people don't really fully understand. They don't really want to buy it, but the law and some of the other systems in place legislatively require it. And after they buy it, they don't want to use it. So you think about that, they feel like they really can only win by losing. We don't get a lot of people calling up when they're having a good day because they've actually lost something. So insurance being regulated, being one of those products that isn't sexy, it's not hip, it's not cool, does make it a challenge to go to market. But there's a real upside. And as you asked about the social part, I think the other piece is the business model. I like to tell people in lectures and talks that we have that you have three choices. You can lead with relationship, customer intimacy, and make that your focal point. You can lead with operational efficiency, which usually comes down to squeezing all the costs out and being a price, or maybe in the sense of maybe even a software product, they would lead with product innovation. Well, in the insurance space, there's not a lot of innovation. People consider it a commodity. We didn't want to be the low price leader, and our founders, God bless them, really thought hard and long about leading with relationship. So that just fits really nicely into this whole social engagement space, and it helped us with our strategy to develop plans for how to better engage with the customer. We actually think about the strategy way before we think about the tools.
So tell me more about that, and I think in the words of Jim Collins, this was your bag, is engaging.
BHAG, yeah, the big, hairy, audacious goal.
Tell me about how you thought through the process of using social media.
Well, it kind of came to me by accident.
Yeah.
I was attending a conference, remember it was in Miami, and I was down, there was a general conference of CMOs, and one of the sessions, a large room session, a man named Andy Cernovich, who I'd never met, came in and he started to talk about a book he'd written called Word of Mouth Marketing, How Smart Companies Get People Talking. And I went and listened to him, and I realized that what he was saying was what I had been thinking and had introduced to the company about the fact that, you know, we're not going to be able to compete as large scale as the national carriers with very robust advertising programs. 2009, for instance, our industry spent over $400 million in broadcast and marketing, and that's not us. That's not us. And so I went and talked to Andy, and he introduced me to the Word of Mouth Marketing Association, and we started to flow out ideas that said, you know, smart people get people talking, by performing high levels of service orientation and engagement with their customers that makes them proud to be your marketing source for the service side. So that's been the thinking. It wasn't about social media. In fact, I'm real clear about that with people that social media is, I refer to that as, it's a noun, it's tools. Social engagement is a verb, and it shows action. And I said, we've got to, before we rush to the tools, we have to understand what we're going to do to engage, and that's been our thinking.
And so for the people in the audience, I think this is really an important point. Often you think about social media as a strategy to drive awareness, but what you're talking about here is a culture shift, almost like it's referred in the work from Zappos or so, where you really think about is you're not just doing marketing to let people know that you exist, but you're trying to scale a relationship, and you're trying to build away from awareness to advocacy. So you have a model there, I think, PO Square, and then you also have a 7-stage model to think through awareness to advocacy. Take us quickly through what that means.
Well, first of all, it's in insurance. And I said we serve the responsible market.
Yeah.
By definition, that means they're insured. They aren't driving around without insurance, right? And so it's kind of a zero-sum game, that they are already covered by someone, if not us. So we would need to have them come to us. Well, it's not a high-interest product that they're out shopping for all the time. And as much as we've done research, I found a way just to boil it down to PO squared, and I pardon my language, but you either are pissed off or you're priced out. And that's when you shop. And so you're waiting for that moment of truth for someone who's somebody else's best customer to decide that they're dissatisfied with that carrier, or they are on the margin interested in seeing if there's a better opportunity, and that's when you have to be ready to engage with them. Now, the ideal situation would be for a friend of that person to say, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, I've never had that problem with PEMCO. I really think you ought to give them a call. And that saves marketing dollars, and it creates an opportunity for engagement somewhere into that model. You mentioned the awareness to advocacy, and I just want to share a little bit on that as I've thought that through, traditional marketers have in their earliest days said they are all about the part of the business that creates brand awareness. And a lot of money was spent to make people aware of your brand. And then it didn't take too long for them to say, oh, not all awareness is good. It has to be positive awareness. So you want them to have a strong understanding and preference. Then when we study shopping models for insurance, we say, gee, people don't shop 10 companies. They shop about 2 or 3. So you need to be in their consideration set. So those are the jobs of marketing on the front end, and when they consider the 2 or 3, perhaps they will call or inquire, and they will select you. That was, I think, a 20 years ago model where marketing's job was done. But in truth, as you look at it, when people buy for the first time, they really aren't your full-fledged customer. They start to become customers when they renew. And they say, the relationship was a good one, I want to do it again. Like if you went out to a dinner in a restaurant, the first time you're there, you're a customer, but you're trying it out. If you go back several times, you start to build momentum with that relationship, and it spins off the next stage, which is a referral. You'll tell somebody, I had a great meal, I had a great experience. When the storm happened last year, a tree fell on my fence, and they were there to fix it up right away. And that referral influences loyalty. And it's from that loyalty that you start to build advocacy. So in that 7-stage model, it's really critical for marketers and businesses to say, well, it's not just good to know them. How do we count them? How do we measure them? What is our level of awareness? What is the level of preference? What is the frequency of selection? Of the people who select, how many refer? And so far, we've been able to build a metric for each of those that have yet not been able to really get a solid measure on how many of our customers are advocates and how to then engage with those folks just yet.
What you're teaching us here is really a sophisticated way of thinking about the relationship with the customer, and it goes beyond selling them a particular service. It goes to understanding them as they go through their life. And I think this is really what we are witnessing with social media as a way to change the rules of marketing. Instead of thinking about campaigns every once in a while and talking to different audiences at different points, this is maintaining the relationship throughout your work as a marketer.
Well, yeah, and you're right. And when I think about that, that the BHAG is not just an aspiration. It's
Yeah.
real. That in order to win and to have a chance of winning as a regional carrier like we are, you really actually at some point have to say, I'm going to test it. I'm going to take money out of the marketing and put it into the relationship and into the voice of the customer and leverage that asset that scales, because I can't, with a staff of 10 or even a staff of 100, if I had that, you can't manage 200,000 households, but 200,000 customers can be your advocate and defend you when you're not in the room. They can speak up on your behalf when someone challenges you, and when someone is disappointed, they can offer you as a recommendation.
And this is what allows you to do the wonderful job you're doing with a relatively reasonable team. You said you had 10 people,
10
and
to
you have
12
a set,
people, yeah.
and you
And
have
some
a set of
agencies that help
agencies.
us, yep.
That's great. There's also the role of technology, and as many of you are watching us, we're going to release a free tool to you that allows you to look at your Twitter analytics. And really the goal here is to allow you as an individual to look at your influence in the Twitter sphere. You've taken a look at the tool.
I have.
What do you think about it? How do you use it? And how do you think people should think about it?
Well, my first reaction when I looked at it was how great it is to see so many measures of success or failure on one page.
Yeah.
To bring that all together and to be able to look at influence and to look at some of the directions and the volume, I like that a lot. I also think that before businesses can really be successful in the social media space, social engagement space, people have to be successful. And that's what I find is human nature is probably some CMOs like myself will say, well, let me just see how I'm doing. Let me just see on an individual basis. Let my curiosity look at some people that I know. How are they doing relative to me? Then, once they start to see that there's a confidence and a tracking, that they could say, well, now let's see how my business is doing. Let's see how the conference that I hosted is doing. Let's see how the special event that I care about is doing. And so I think that this will be a tool to look forward to. I'm excited to see it. I didn't know about it before we sat down today, and I just think it looks like something that will be fun to use and informative and useful.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words, and thank you for the great lessons. If people want to follow up with you and continue the conversations, where do they go?
Well, I have several places, but I like to connect on Twitter, and my handle is @NorthwestMarketingGuy. And easier, though, is to just go to rodbrooks.com. And that has all my links, or Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, all right there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruno.
Until next time, I'm Bruno Ziza.